Now statement 16. Statement 16, the upholders of mind only have the clear realization of the seventh stage. And so yesterday, we looked at how Kyobpa Rinpoche talked about comparing, right, the levels of attainments of those who follow the path of the hero Buddhas and the solitary realized Buddhas, the Shravaka and the Pratyeka Buddhas, and how in terms of their wisdom realization, it's the equivalent of the sixth stage of the Bodhisattva. But then in terms of the virtuous qualities, then the fact of generating relative bodhicitta, it's so powerful, right, that then from that perspective, the bodhisattvas, virtues, good qualities, is said to outshine even the Shravakas and the solitary realized Buddhas. And the point is really not that Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas are lowly attainments. The point really is that those are such high and profound stages of attainment that then bodhisattvas who are not yet at the end of their training but only starting would even outshine the virtuous qualities of the Shravakas and the Pratyeka. So we should not think, the Shravakas and the Pratyeka Buddhas' attainments are kind of lowly. If they're lowly, then to say the Bodhisattvas' middle attainment surpasses them, that means really nothing, right? So first you have to appreciate, how unimaginably profound and wonderful the wisdom achieved by the solitary realizers and the Pratyeka Buddhas, and even their qualities, But then, compared to that of those who resolve to achieve the state of complete and perfect Buddhas for the sake of all sentient beings, compared to those who have genuinely, even for one moment, given rise to this relative bodhicitta, it's cannot be compared. So this is statement 15. So 16 now, the seventh stage of bodhisattvas is mentioned here. And so here, Kyobpa Rinpoche brings up another technical term, which is the mind only. And so mind only, again, the broader context, is often refers to one of four, you could say, philosophical traditions of Indian Buddhism. And this is, of course, in some ways, an oversimplification of the, you could say it's sort of an oversimplification of the complexity and the diversity of philosophical traditions and views in Indian Buddhism. But nonetheless, in the Nalanda tradition, by the 11th, 12th century, they have streamlined everything and kind of, in a way you could say, reread, Buddhist history and come up with kind of an understanding, a narrative that basically says that Indian Buddhism, if you organize all the diversity of different understandings, different beliefs, different viewpoints, if you simplify them into, if you kind of simplify, you could say that there are basically four positions. And so these are known as the four tenet systems Two of these belong to so-called Hinayana traditions, and two of these belong to Mahayana. So within the Mahayana, it says that it's broadly divided into the mind-only tradition and the middle way tradition. Chittamatra in Sanskrit and Madhyamaka. Chittamatra referring to mind only, and Madhyamaka referring to the middle way tradition. So here, the name mind only, Chittamatra, is the tradition that is addressed here. So here, Kyobpa Rinpoche says, those who uphold, who uphold the philosophical system or the viewpoint of mind only, they have actually arrived at the seventh level, the seventh stage, seventh ground of the 10 grounds of bodhisattvas. The next line will talk about the 8th stage, okay? So now let's just look at the 7th stage. So let's look at Khenpo Kunpal's commentary. It is said in the Vast Wisdom Sutra, like magicians who are not stained by any faults, all virtuous and non-virtuous actions done to their own projected illusory displays, likewise, phenomena are fully enjoyed through skillful means. And so Khenpo Kunpal quotes this sutra. The translators tell us that they have not been able to find this quote in the Buddha's collection of Buddha's teachings. They're unsure, like where this comes from. These days, you can just the entire collection of sutras and tantras and commentaries from Indian Buddhism that is now preserved, translated in the Tibetan Gangyo and Tengyo. You can do an easy search now with the computer and to find where it comes from. But apparently they have not been able to find this quote. So what this quote is basically saying is like, if you are like a magician, and a magician who can conjure up, right, illusory displays, like conjure up, an illusory display. So today, I think we would say like in a movie, So it's like saying like, it's like in a movie, right? So then in the movie, virtuous or non-virtuous actions that you see happening in a movie, they don't really harm or help. As in the characters in the movie, they're not real. So it says, this quote is saying, likewise, if you have skillful means, all phenomena can be fully, here called enjoyed. That means you can be in the midst of all the happenings and not really be affected, is what it's saying. So this is generally what this quote is saying. Now, of course, we want to say, Drikung, people following Jigten Sumgon, we immediately say, be careful with this kind of talk, right? That not stained by any faults of virtuous or non-virtuous actions, right? It's like, be careful, don't to think, virtue and non-virtue, won't affect us. But anyway, this is the quote, that Khenpo Kunpal gives in discussing this statement. So we go on and see what he says. Like this, the perfection of skillful means is especially far away from listeners and self-realized Buddhas, and it is the clear realization of the 7th stage, meaning an important transition happens when bodhisattvas, when the bodhisattva's wisdom increases from the 6th stage to the 7th stage, which is at the 7th stage, a particular profound realization arises that enables them to more effectively employ skillful means. So here, continuing in the commentary, the skillful practice arises from the realization that all phenomena do not exist apart from the mind, and the nature of mind is free from elaborations. So what do we mean, is saying here, by skillful means? Skillful means is the kind of action that is done that benefits the other person, like truly benefits, right? Not only appearing to be beneficial, but then in the end turns out to be harmful. And there's a lot of actions that we do to others that may look like it's skillful, may look like it's beneficial, but may not actually be, right? So first of all, the first qualification of skillful action, skillful means, upaya, this is a technical term, okay? So the first, I would say, necessary criteria for an action to be considered upaya is when what is done to that person will be beneficial to that person. Secondly, what it's saying here is, the other criteria for it to really be skillful action is that the performer of this action, the one who carries out this action, have to have realized, not just intellectually understand, but truly realize that all phenomena do not exist separate from mind. Other than mind, there's nothing that exists. And then the nature of this mind is free from elaborations. A vast mind with no thing existing. So this is when the action can be called upaya, skillful means. Elsewhere in the commentary, related to the famous story of the Captain Compassion, right? In Drikung commentaries, we know it's emphasized that action, we say, is not yet skillful means, not yet upaya. Now, of course, other traditions will say differently. And here we're not saying who is right or who is wrong. What I want you to be able to see is what is being emphasized when, in Drikung commentaries, it says what the Captain Compassion did is not 100% upaya. Yeah, and so in those commentaries, they will say Captain Compassion only was on 6th stage bodhisattva. If Captain Compassion was at the 7th stage bodhisattva, then yes, even though he will be born, he was born in the hell realm for killing that one person. The sufferings of the hell realm cannot really touch him, because he would have realized that all phenomena doesn't exist apart from mind, and his mind has been calm or pacified. Then it goes on here. Therefore, the upholders of this mind only have the clear realization of the 7th stage. So what Kyobpa Rinpoche is also saying here is, the real meaning of upholders of mind only are bodhisattvas on the 7th stage. As for those who advocate or teach the mind only system, right? Those who can debate, those who can argue, those who can persuade others that the mind only viewpoint is superior, is correct. They are not really, they are only teaching about mind only. They are not the ones who have truly realized the meaning of mind only. The ones who have truly realized the meaning of mind only, they are seventh stage, seven Bhumi bodhisattvas. So he continues, he says, the reason is stated in the Descent to Lanka Sutra. So this Descent to Lanka Sutra is an important sutra for those who teach the mind-only system. The stage of mind-only is the seventh. Absence of appearances is the eighth. The two stages, ninth and tenth, are called abiding in the realization of the eighth stage. The Buddha stage is supreme. The self-cognizing wisdom is fully pure. That is my stage. So here, Khenpo Kunpal quotes from the Descent to Lankavatara Sutra, where it shows, mind only is the seventh stage. Absence of appearances, that is what the middle way Madhyamaka teaches. That's the eighth stage. So even the projections of mind now have ceased on the eighth stage. Then, according to the Lankavatara Sutra, the stage 8 and 9, 9th and 10th of bodhisattvas is basically abiding, meaning deepening, stabilizing what has been realized on the eighth bhumi, the eighth ground, the eighth stage. Then finally, stage 11 is the Buddha stage. There, fully and completely, the self-cognizing wisdom is stainless. Buddha says, and that is my stage. This is stage 8. Speaking of stage 7, the mind only. Then if you look at the next statement, which is regarding stage 8, so Kyobpa Rinpoche says, the lack of identity of phenomena. That means phenomena lacking self. That realization is manifested on the 8th stage. So there again, the larger context of that is the lack of self in phenomena is said to be a more profound realization of the lack of phenomena in persons. Persons is the more gross, coarse object. And phenomena is the more subtle object. So like I, that's persons, the I of the self of persons, the more coarse version of I grasping. Then grasping on phenomena having an identity or phenomena having a self, that's a more subtle form of grasping, which is only completely overcome, left behind, purified on the 8th stage. Again, this is, Kyobpa answering, right? Different debates, conversations going on in his community. He did not compose this text, to go 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you have to remember the nature of how these statements came together and how they're arranged. This is Sherab Jungne arranging them in this order because he sees a connection. Insofar as the statement itself, Kyobpa Rinpoche is responding to conversations that are going on, and perhaps even questions that his different disciples on different occasions pose to him. Sherab Jungne hears it, and he notes it down. Our guru, his opinion on this issue is like this. Then he wrote it down. So you have to remember that. Otherwise, you will say, well, but then that statement and this statement, and then you get all tied up. Yes, question.
So does the mind only level believe that phenomena have existence?
No,
So I'm not getting the nuance.
no, don't worry about it.
I'm not there, so
Yeah.
I don't need to worry about it.
Mind-only level is an attainment level. Now, that's the point. He said it's not about belief or not belief. On the mind-only level, you understand all phenomena, all experiences to be only mind. And mind is free from elaborations. Yeah, so that point finish, okay? Here you are doing exactly trying to arrange the two statements and say, oh, what is the difference here? Does it mean that they believe this and they believe this? Separate occasions answering separate concerns.
Okay. All right. Got it, I think.
Yes, I'm sure, the scholars will then put it all together and start debating. Then actually, this big volume precisely have to respond to those other scholars who do that kind of. So wait, what is the difference you're saying between this and this and this and this? Yeah? So they have to answer that. So if you want, go back and read those corresponding section. Yeah? For our purposes here, especially this time around, I want to emphasize trying to remember, what is Kyobpa Rinpoche saying with regards to that particular statement. Now, specifically here, Kyobpa Rinpoche is responding to those who have this opinion that both types of selflessness, the absence of self of persons and the absence of self of phenomena, was attained at the very first stage of the 10 stages of bodhisattvas. According to Kyobpa Rinpoche, no. The selflessness of phenomena is not destroyed, abandoned until the 8th stage. Although the selflessness of persons is achieved at the first stage. So to go from selflessness of persons into completely getting rid of all the very subtle obscurations of the selflessness of phenomena takes 7 stages more. Not so easy. Not so easy. 7 more stages. Yeah, so 17, it says, his commentary, Khenpo Kunpal. The great equality of all phenomena being primordially free from arising, abiding, and ceasing. This is what it means, the lack of identity of phenomena is greatly superior to other realizations. Other here refers to the lower levels of realization of the lack or identity of phenomena before the 8th bodhisattva stage. So it's not like on the 7th, the 6th, and the 5th, absolutely there's no realization of the lack of identity of phenomena. It's that it's not complete. It's only complete on the 8th stage. Then it is manifested and realized on the 8th stage. Again, now it quotes another text called the Sutra of Play in Full, which is the life of the Buddha, or partial life of the Buddha. At the time on this 8th stage, when I attained this fortitude regarding the absence of any birth or death, that all these phenomena are naturally free from identity. At that time, Buddha Dipankara prophesied my Buddhahood. So this is just quoting a sutra source to show how this opinion is backed up by a sutra source. So the quote doesn't do anything to, any logic or any going on to help you understand why. It only says, well, it said in the text that he was on the 8th. It's on the 8th where he fully realized, fully attained the realization of the 8th Bodhisattva stage. So 16 and 17, right? These pertain to debates about the tenet systems, the 4 traditions. The debates about the 4 tenet system, for many of us, it's probably not so necessary. It's hard. It's hard, for us to fully get, because you have to really understand all these technical terms and philosophical debates that were going on. But basically what I can say is that, every time Kyobpa Rinpoche catch his students, his disciples, those people around him, wanting to get this debate into very scholarly, technical, abstract discussions, he finds a way to bring them back to, insofar as training your mind and your mind realizing these things, what does this mean? What does this mean? And so that's, now of course he's also talking to people who have a chance of being on the 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th bhumi, in ways that maybe you and I now, really? So also it's a little bit hard, for us to completely appreciate. Yes.
So this is a very nuanced and complicated process where many of these things are going on any level. They're just not fully understood. And so people have tried to quantify in order to maybe help us understand, but that's not what you use this for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Even on the level of like appreciating what's going on here, forget about actually being on the bhumis. Most of us don't have enough background for statements like this. For statements like this. But for, Tibetan Buddhist philosophy geeks, when they see statements like this, they're like, what? He said that? Wait a minute. Whoa. And, then all the books, they will open up and they will start like, forgetting to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And, getting very excited. But we don't have enough background to get that excited about these statements here. So today we'll end here, having covered these 2 statements. And then the other statements, I think, it's a little, when it's not talking about Bodhisattva stage 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's like not even 1 yet, don't know what's going on.